So the other night, I decided I was going to go see Frank Miller, American Genius. If you don't know what this is, it was a kind of a limited release film, a documentary on Frank Miller, the great Frank Miller, comic book creator, um, movie producer, movie director of his own content and whatnot, screenwriter. Um, just, I mean, American Genius is accurate, right? Um, that's a good description of him, and created things like Sin City, revolutionized Batman, created 300, um, just an amazing artist and writer, and one of the first to do it that way. One of the first comic creators to go from being an artist to also being the writer of the comic as well. Back when he transformed the Daredevil comic in the late 70s from a nobody's reading this to the top book in the comic book world. So if you've watched anything like if you've watched any version of Daredevil that they've shown on Netflix and theaters, uh, any version of Daredevil that you've seen on screen in the past, I don't know, 20 years ever, right, was Frank Miller's version of Daredevil or a version of one of the stories that he told in those like 3 years that he was on Daredevil. Um, Same thing with Batman. If you enjoy Batman, um, if you've enjoyed Batman for the past 30 years or so, um, plus, then you enjoy Frank Miller's kind of darker, grittier version of Batman because that's what he did with the character. Um, anyway, that's who the guy is, and yeah, does it warrant a documentary about his life? I think so. I think so. I was really happy that I went to see it. Um, I didn't. I'll say that I didn't really learn anything new, but that's just because I already know a lot of information about this guy. I would have liked to maybe see a little more info on just his life, like growing up and things that he's been through, and things like it focused very much on his work, which I get. It was a documentary really about his work, um, but it gave a little bit of like his history growing up and his parents and breaking into the comics industry. But I think I would have liked to seen a little more personal touch of like stuff that he went through. They lightly touched on his alcoholism and his struggle with that. But I don't know. I think I would have liked to seen a little more personal touch to it. Like, who is Frank Miller, right? Not just Frank Miller the artist, Frank Miller the writer, but who is Frank Miller? That's what I would have liked to seen more of. But overall, I'll say I enjoyed it. I liked that. Like I said, I didn't really learn anything new from this, but it was just cool to see it on the big screen, you know. And like I said, it was like a limited engagement. It was like one showing, and I think one of the coolest parts is that there was a live introduction for everyone that went to see it in the theater. Um, and you got to see like a 30-minute interview where Frank is interviewed by Rosario Dawson, who's been in plenty of stuff related to Frank Miller, whether it be um, Sin City, or acting in the Daredevil series, which, like I said, was heavily based on his run of Daredevil. Um, it was cool to see her interview him. Um, but that was a cool feature of like going to this limited engagement event. It only played in one movie house, like in one theater in all of Columbus. Um, I know that my buddy Kurt went to see it in Chicago. He said it was only showing in two theaters, like in Chicago, and you know it's fucking Chicago. So it really was limited. The theater that I saw it in, it was actually more people than I expected in there. It was probably three quarters full at least. Um, but I took my brother-in-law. We had a great time. I think my brother-in-law got a lot out of it. He really enjoyed it. You know, he's like, man, thanks for taking me. This is awesome. Um, I knew he had been recently getting into geeky stuff again, you know, and getting into that world. And I was like, man, this would be perfect to take him to. And yeah, now he's all like fired up to go read Frank Miller stuff. So Yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time going to see it. It was a little long, man. It was like I think including the 30-minute intro, they set the runtime at like 2 hours and 20 something minutes. So around 2.5 hours. But like I said, that included like after sitting there through it, I thought it was going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes after the interview was over. But no, I believe that was actually part of it. So it was probably around a 2 hour actual film. But as I said, really cool movie. I'm sure it'll be available to stream somewhere at some point. But it was cool to be a part of something that was like a one-time only thing, right? And I don't know, maybe it'll get a wider release. I don't know. But going to see it when I did, I thought was pretty damn cool. And everyone who went got a like a limited sketch that not sketch, but like a print that Frank Miller created specifically for this event. It's just like a print of Marv and from Sin City. And that was pretty damn cool. And they all had like little serial numbers on the back, which not only kind of marks it as like a limited thing, right? But it also worked as a lottery because during the live interview at the beginning, they announced a winner of something, which I don't even remember what it was they won or if they even said what it was that they won. But one lucky person who was there somewhere, this person actually was in El Paso, Texas, had their name read out live while seeing this movie because they won whatever it was that they won. But I thought that was really cool how it was a live event, right? A live screening. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, if you didn't go see it, hopefully you get a chance to see it. If you're interested at all in Frank Miller or any of those properties that I mentioned that he was a part of, look for it because it is a cool documentary, especially if you don't know much about Frank Miller. Like, it'll make you want to go read some Frank Miller stuff, right? Or rewatch movies that you enjoyed that were based on Frank Miller properties. So anyway, that's kind of what I thought of the film. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. Anyone who has seen it, who was there for that limited engagement. I feel like we're closer now because we were all there at the same time watching the same thing. Pretty damn cool. But yeah, let me know what you thought of it if you did see the film. And just any thoughts on Frank Miller, put them in the description. I love talking about this sort of stuff. And if you're at all interested in entertainment, pop culture, that sort of thing, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do decide to stick around and subscribe, then I will talk to you all again really soon. Thanks.